Okay guys, I'm here for the 8th video in my SummerSlam Review Series. SummerSlam 1995. A time, 1995, which is an overall bad year for the WWE and pro wrestling in general, but WWE still, even in 95, had a couple shining moments of matches. Not too many, but there are some. This show isn't one of them, although it is saved by one match, but I'll get into that. This took place on August the 25th, 1995, from the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's also known as the Igloo. I believe it's where the Pittsburgh Penguins play. There are 9 matches on this card, so we have a 45 total maximum star rating. We open it up with the 1-2-3 Kid versus Hakushi. Good match here. It's a 3-star match, so it's not a bad match at all. It actually gets the show off to a fairly good start. Lots of high-flying action here in this, and there's also some ground-based stuff, but it's predominantly a high-flying match, kind of like the old WCW Cruiserweight matches. Finish, though, is the 1-2-3 Kid goes for a spin kick. Hakushi catches him and gives him a power bomb and pins him, and Hakushi gets the win. 3 stars. Good match. So, it starts off good. So then we get Bob Holly versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Yes, this was Triple H's pay-per-view wrestling debut, as Hunter Hearst Helmsley facing Bob Holly, the member of the WWF racing team. Okay match, nothing special, 1.5 stars. Nothing special. Holly goes for like a backdrop, and Triple H actually counters into like the pedigree and wins the match. So 1.5 stars. Good match. Well, okay match, but so then we get the Smoking Guns versus Jacob and Eli Blue, who would later go on to become DOA and the Harris Brothers. So these two guys got around in the world of wrestling. 1-star tag match here, nothing really special. The Smoking Guns won with their Sidewinder, which is a side slam top rope leg drop combination. 1 star, nothing really special. So then we get Barry Horowitz versus Skip. Oh yes, Barry Horowitz. Probably, other than the Brooklyn Brawler, the single most famous jobber in the history of the WWE, actually in the year 1995, got a small bit of a push due to a victory he got on the Action Zone TV show, which was oversold by Jim Ross. Because one of Jim Ross's most famous calls occurred after that match, where he went, "Horowitz wins! Horowitz wins! Horowitz wins!" like he had just won the Super Bowl or something. And to be fair, Barry Horowitz had not won a match in like, 7, 8, 9 years or something like that, going back to the 1980s sometime. But the push was ended pretty much after the Raw 96, when they got Barry Horowitz off the mic, and he went back to Jobber Central, and he went back to Jobberland. For what this isn't that bad of a match. It's a 2-star match, even though Skip does dominate most of it. Which technically is good storytelling, because Horowitz would technically be out of the league here, because this is a event that Horowitz is not used to being a part of. So it goes to good storytelling that way. Skip hits his diving headbutt, but he pulls Horowitz up. Hakushi eventually comes out, distracts Skip, which allows Horowitz to small package Skip and win the match. Hakushi had come out because Skip had come out on an Action Zone and cost Hakushi a match against Horowitz. So I guess turned out as fair play in that case. So Horowitz won again. 2 stars. So then we get the WWE Women's Championship match. Alundra Blayze versus Bertha Faye. This is not as good as the Alundra Blayze Bull Nakano match from 1994. In fact, as far as women's matches that Alundra Blayze had in the WWF, I would say this is her worst opponent, because I don't think the styles meshed that great. Bertha wins with a sit-down powerbomb and becomes the women's champion. She would lose the title to Alundra, I think, a little over a month later. And her last appearance for both these women on pay-per-view, anyway, would be Survivor Series 1995. In fact, I think that's Alundra Blayze's final WWE appearance in general at Survivor Series 1995, until she showed up at the Hall of Fame this year. I could be wrong on that, though. But yeah, this is a half-a-star match. It's not that great. And it should be noted, this is the last WWE Women's Championship match that took place on a pay-per-view until 1999, when Ivory and Tori would meet for the Women's Championship, if I am not mistaken. So the next 4 matches, you know, are as good as you can possibly get, I guess, out of these people. The next match, a casket match, Undertaker versus Kama, 2.5 stars. This is before Kama had found that whole Godfather gimmick, which is the gimmick that made him, that then the WWE killed by putting him in the right to censor, but I'll probably talk about that for SummerSlam 2000 more. This is a better match than probably has any right to be. It's a 2.5 star casket match. Taker wins with a tombstone and then puts Kama in the casket. So then we get Bret Hart versus Isaac Yankem DDS, who, for some people who may not know, is Kane before he found Kane. Yes, this was Glenn Jacobs, now known as Kane, has had 2 failed gimmicks before he found that gimmick. This one, Isaac Yankem DDS, where he was a dentist who had decayed teeth, which kind of goes against being a dentist in a way. And his other fake gimmick was, of course, the fake Diesel as the failed gimmick, until he eventually found Kane in 1997. And he was a fairly green person here. He had just come off a stint, I believe, in the GWF or the UWF or something, when he was the Unabomb. So, yeah. And Bret got the best match you could out of it. It's 2 stars. DQ happens when Jerry Lawler interferes. It is what it is. So then we get the match of this show, and probably should have main evented, as it's the ladder match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship rematch WrestleMania 10. As it's Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. Now, while their ladder match WrestleMania 10 is a 5-star classic and one of the all-time greatest matches in history of WrestleMania, while this match is good, it's only 4.5 stars. Because honestly, it's because I don't think there's a good enough story here. At WrestleMania 10, you had this whole who was the real Intercontinental Champion here. This is over just the IC title, and while it meant a lot to both guys, Shawn wanted to avenge what happened at WrestleMania 10, while Razor wanted to prove that history repeats itself. That's an okay story, but I think the story of WrestleMania 10 works better. But this is a very good match. Shawn, you know, a lot of the traditional ladder match stuff, and plus, I don't think they topped WrestleMania 10. I think a lot of the stuff they ended up doing, they did in WrestleMania 10. So, Shawn and Razor didn't bring anything new that they didn't already do in a ladder match, in my opinion. But again, that's my opinion. Still a great match. 4.5 stars. Shawn won after Razor went for the Razor's Edge, and Shawn backdropped him over the top rope. And then Razor couldn't get back into the ring, and that allowed Michaels to win. 4.5 stars, and then Razor Ramon has this run-in with Dean Douglas backstage, which set off their feud, because throughout the night there's been these skits of Dean Douglas backstage critiquing certain matches. So this match should have main evented far more than the match that did main event, as it's the next match, the WWE Championship match, Diesel versus King Mabel. Now, I've seen interviews with both of these guys where Mabel said that both him and Kevin Nash were trying to lobby Vince to have the IC title ladder match main event the show, because they don't think they would have been able to follow it. Well, they didn't. This is a very bad match. It's half a star. I'm giving it that because Nash actually does a plancha to the outside in it, which for a guy Nash's size is very impressive. So it got a half-star rating for that. Nash wins with a forearm or something off the second rope and pins King Mabel that way. Bad match, half a star. So, out of 45 possible stars, this show gets a 17.5. Which, while not a C, because it would have to get 22.5, does get a C minus, and that is based on the strength of that ladder match. If that ladder match wasn't here, the rating for this show would probably be in the D range. But because it is, the show gets a 17.5, which actually makes it a C. So, better than most people think it is. In fact, the only two really bad matches on this card, in my opinion, are the Women's Championship match and Diesel and King Mabel, because everything else is actually more than half a star on it. So it's not as bad a show I think people remember. In fact, it still has a memorable match on it, so that still makes it better than 93. Of these so far, 93 has been the worst rated SummerSlam, as it's the only one that got below a C rating. Well, 93 and 90 both got below a C rating, so. This will be in the SummerSlam Review Series playlist. The next video will be SummerSlam 1996, uploaded either tomorrow or Monday. If you like the video, like button is down there, subscribe button is down there, and thank you for watching. Bye.